1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just counting Patriot Super Bowls. That's not actually testing.
I hope you recorded that. Today's episode of the BS Podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek, our presenting sponsor, the easiest way to shop for the best tickets thanks to their revolutionary grading system. Buy and sell tickets in 2 taps on your phone, everything guaranteed. My listeners get $10 off baseball tickets the first time they use SeatGeek. Use promo code BSMLB. My son and my dad are going to, this is Kevin Hench here, by the way. My son and my dad are going to Yankees Red Sox Friday. It looks like Chris Sale's pitching August 18th. I asked SeatGeek for great tickets, and they just hooked me up because they're our partner. And
well done.
They're the best. So
they're
my son,
also getting sucked into this Red Sox playoff run.
Oh, yeah. So my son going to Fenway, first time, Chris Sale Yankees. That's a pretty good one.
That's solid.
My fear is that Chris Sale gets pushed a day, and then Pomeranz ends up, which you won't be telling your grandkids about Pomeranz, but maybe the Chris Sale 17 strikeout Yankee
Pomeranz
game.
Quietly the most important player on the Red Sox
Great trade.
this season.
Download the SeatGeek app today or go right to SeatGeek.com. And we are pleased to announce the newly relaunched TheRinger.com website this week. Very excited for everyone to see the new site. A lot of time, effort, energy. The Chorus platform from Vox. Thanks to Medium and Ev Williams for a great run, speed launching our site, and now we've taken it to the next level. Check out the latest articles, videos, podcasts. Special thanks to Miller Lite, who've been with us since the beginning and have been fantastic partners. We are thrilled to have them as the relaunch sponsor for the site. Miller Lite, the official beer of The Ringer. Remember when we were growing up, the Celtics were in those ads? Remember that? All the old ones?
The good old days.
The good old days. And lastly, 2 podcasts that we're launching this week. One is called Ringer FC, soccer podcast.
Oh,
yeah.
Right up my alley. Newcastle United back in the EPL.
Yeah, you made
It's
it
my
back.
squad.
Wow. Yeah. You felt like after the Red Sox had won a World Series, you needed a new form of torture in your life, so you picked Newcastle. So
Team that hasn't won anything since 1927.
what do you think of that title, Ringer FC?
Nice. I
Pretty
love
good,
it.
right?
Yeah.
We got a good logo, so subscribe now. That first pod.
I love your soccer transformation. These
Thank
emails we send each other
I know.
about Pulisic
And
every
me
game.
complaining about Alex Morgan. And then the Rewatchables, another podcast we're launching this week. So we have some old pods on that feed already. And then the first one is going to be A Few Good Men, which we broke down like it was a Zapruder film. Where do you stand on A Few Good Men, Hedge?
I mean, I loved it when I saw it in the movie theater. You know, I mean,
You're not a rewatchable. Me
I
and
move
Corolla
on.
versus
I move
you. Yeah, you move
on.
on. You move on to new movies.
It's like my jiggly leg. I guess
Yeah.
it's too anxious to watch something twice.
So yeah, check those out. Those are the 2 newest podcasts from the Ringer Podcast Network. And finally on theringer.com this week, Patriots Week. It's mid-August. What the hell? People are mad we're doing Patriots Week. It's like, first of all, the Patriots are the team of the century. They won 5 Super Bowls. They have arguably the best coach of all time, arguably the best quarterback of all time. I don't know who's
I would
arguing
say
against that.
inarguably the best coach of all time.
Okay, but I'm just trying
And
to
I
leave
would
the door
actually
open.
expand it to of all sports because obviously the hardest sport to coach.
Okay, we can talk about that during the pod. But Patriots Week, a lot of good pieces up there. Kevin Clark put up a piece today about how the 07 Patriots changed football. They
If
might
you
not
don't
have
want
gone
it to be
19-0.
Patriots Week, you should beat them occasionally.
So we're coming up. We're going to break down the 25 greatest Patriots wins of the Brady Belichick era. Listen, you can either enjoy listening to this or you can hate listen to it. But either way, we're doing it. The Patriots have earned it. We're doing it. You can turn it off now. We don't care. We're doing this podcast. But first, Pearl Jam. All right, my buddy Kevin Hench is here.
Fired up as I've ever been.
You're the only
That's
person.
the best homework assignment I've ever been sent in my life. Watch hours of Patriot highlights.
Yeah, I sent you the document, the list. There were clips and links attached to each game.
And like Boston Globe articles.
Yeah. I was like, I hesitate to send this to you, but this is a rabbit hole. It might ruin your day. And then like
Or
2
make
hours
it.
later, our fantasy baseball, we own a fantasy baseball team together. in the League of Dorks, and I'm emailing you trades, and you just texted back, "I'm in the rabbit hole." I just pictured you in front of a computer for hours.
I feel like I almost watched the entire 2001 AFC Championship game against the Steelers because some of the links were the whole game,
right?
And you find yourself like, why am I watching this timeout?
Yeah,
it was.
So I really wanted to be prepared for this. Initially, I was going to write it as a column, and it would have taken 10 days. The only way to do the column would have been to go all the way in. How is this not
going to be 10 hours, by the way?
Well, it might be 2. Okay. It might be 2. You're the only person I could imagine doing it with because first of all, you have an incredible recollection of obscure moments. You care the most of any friend I have.
Reaction.
You're the only person I know when we were like, we'll win one Red Sox World Series and it'll never be the same. A year later, you're sending angry emails about Edgar Renteria. You're just a lunatic. You're the number one lunatic
I brought in some of the best therapists in the world to work on my various illnesses.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, I narrowed the list down to 25 best Patriots wins. It's my list. You feel free to argue with me or get mad as we descend in order. If you disagree with any choices.
Well, the one thing so. That just
well, don't give anything away.
All right, I won't give anything away until we get there. Then I'll laugh at how our cup runneth over.
So this is 16 years of football games, and the Patriots have won a lot of games. I mean, Brady has, I think, by far the highest winning percentage of any quarterback. And I think Belichick has the highest winning percentage of any modern coach. So there's a lot of wins. You do 16 years, there's going to be 2 wins a year that we're like, wow, remember that game.
And it's a sport with a hard cap where you can't, two buddies, it's not like basketball where 2 friends can call each other in July and say, hey, you want to win the NBA title right now?
Right.
You can't do that in football. It's like every guy on the roster has to contribute. And Belichick is the chess master who's, proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that he's watching a different sport than the rest of us. He just sees things. That's why Malcolm Butler was on the field. I don't know if that game made it onto the list.
It made it. It's coming up later. Yeah, the Pats have gotten some breaks. The AFC East is an abomination. We just watched a team in the AFC East sign Jay Cutler trying to save their season. That's how bad it's gotten.
There's also a crazy montage to be made of opposing kickers missing.
Oh, shanking ones.
It's like nuts how many times that happens on this list.
Well, Tate's a Carolina fan. The John Casey kickoff out of bounds, which we're going to get to.
Just talking about that with a Carolina fan last night. That game, I don't know. Maybe it's on the list.
It might be on the list. So, honorable mention. Just going to rip through these pretty quick. In no particular order. September 2005, opening night, Pats Steelers. Pats coming off their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. Steelers getting some buzz, is ready to take it over. Pats lay the smackdown. The Steelers are going to be a recurring thing.
The Steelers, I mean, obviously, particularly delightful for us because we're pals with Dave Damashek, the leading Steelers apologist. Coming off the 2004 AFC title game, which might make the list. I don't know. There's so many. But that was the game of all. I don't know. It'd be interesting to ask Sheck of the 2 AFC title games where we kicked them in the nuts in Heinz Field, which hurt worse. But the 2004, they had beaten us to break the streak, and they definitely thought they were going to win. So by the time this game rolls around, they're just like, Steeler fans must hate us almost as much as anybody else. Jets fans,
there's
Dolphins
a lot of people
fans,
listening to this
fans.
podcast who hate us, but that can't stop us from banging out the list. Quickly, Pats 2013, Pats 30, Saints 27. This was the Tompkins,
Kenbrell Tompkins
in the left corner of the end zone. Brady, big comeback, like 15 seconds left. And what's interesting is he never caught another touchdown for the Patriots.
Well, I sent you this email too. It's like this top 5 throws of Tom Brady's career. Video's been going around Twitter. People been talking about. And these are 5. They're 5 typically great throws. I mean, I could name another 50 that should be that are equally amazing, including a couple of those outs he threw during the Super Bowl last year. But the 5 receivers on the Brady's 5 best throws of all time in order are Malcolm Mitchell, Brandon LaFell again, Brian Timms, and then number 1, Kenbrell Tompkins. It's like He's not throwing to Marvin Harrison and
Right.
Jerry Rice, okay? Can we stop pretending there's any debate about this greatest of all time? He's, 2007, he had an elite wide receiver, and he showed what his every season would have been had he played with Jerry Rice. So, that debate, I think people are giving up on that debate. But
Are you
it's
going to
not
be
even
this
close.
hot the whole podcast?
2 hours, baby. Let's go. Rock and roll.
Well, that leads us to another honorable mention game. Moss's first game, Pats 38, Jets 14, September 2007. So there'd been this couple years here. They don't sign Deion Branch heading into the 06 season. They end up trading him, and we all blame. That's the lost Super Bowl, basically, because they didn't sign Deion Branch, trade him for a first rounder. A logical trade on paper, but almost too logical because we had a chance to win the Super Bowl. They end up losing in Indianapolis.
Rashae Caldwell.
And all of us are like, we have no idea how good Brady is because he's been throwing to Jermaine Wiggins and David Givens and
David Patton
and Rashae Caldwell and all these guys. Like, boy, it'd be nice to see him with some weapons. They go out, they get Randy Moss. They trade for Wes Welker, who killed us the previous season. Now all of a sudden we have weapons. First Jets game, touchdown to Moss, but then about halfway through the game, third quarter, Brady goes back. He's got all this time, then throws it. Moss was on the right side. You see it at the start of the play. And he's throwing it deep to the left side of the field in the end zone. And it's like, boy, that's weird. And the camera cuts back, and there's Moss with 3 Jets around him. He had been down the right sideline. Now he's curving across the field and catches this bomb. And all of us are like, oh,
it's going
my
to be
God.
a good year.
Oh, my God.
Well, this might not be the exact right analogy, but, the legend has it that Barry Bonds watched Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa in 1998. And he's like, I'm way better than these guys.
Right.
I'm better than these guys. And everyone's like, McGwire and Sosa have saved baseball. And Bonds is like, I'm going to show you how much better I am than these guys.
I'm the best outfielder ever.
If I do what they're allegedly doing, watch what happens. 73 home runs. And like Moss to me was Brady steroids. It was like, I am not playing on I'm not playing the same sport as you guys who have elite wide receivers. Like Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne are your receivers. Watch what happens when I have comparable weapons, and then it's 50 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
I'm glad you think Randy Moss is Tom Brady's steroids. That's very important. I live my life believing that as well. But that Jets throw was one of the great random football moments of my life. I will never forget watching Moss. First of all, I've never seen anybody on a bomb on the right sideline catch the ball on the left side of the field, unless it's like a complete breakdown. Or it wasn't a breakdown. It was like, here's the play, Randy. Run 50 yards as fast as you can, but halfway down, just curl across the field. Well, nobody does that. Jerry Rice doesn't do that.
To use another sport analogy, it's like when you're feeding the post in basketball, it's so much easier to feed the post to Shaquille O'Neal, who's basically always open,
right?
Because he's got that guy pinned on his ass and he's way bigger than him. And like, you can make a bad throw to Randy Moss and it'll be a touchdown.
Yeah.
When you're throwing, into these tiny windows to Troy Brown and David Patton and David Givens, there's just no margin for error.
Yeah. So 2 more 07 games made the list. We're going to talk about the 07 fuck you TD game that is in the top 25, but these were 2 others. Back-to-back weeks, Pats 49, Dolphins 28, Pats 52, Redskins 7. And this is when it turned into college football almost. It's like watching Alabama play some
where they couldn't
jackass SEC
Vegas
school.
Couldn't set a spread.
And the Pats were angry and just piling it on, and we were angry, and everyone's saying the Pats are cheaters, and they were vindicated in some ways. There was definitely a camera at that Jets game that shouldn't have been there. We all concede that.
Everybody does it was where we ended up as our argument. Yeah. Well, everybody does it.
You guys cheat too. Yeah, that was tough. Boy,
I have a lot of thoughts about 2007, but we'll get to it when we're on the list.
A couple other quick ones. Pats 45, Broncos 10, January 2012. The death of Tim Tebow.
Well, it was so funny because Tebow throws the one spiral of his life
in the
previous
game,
week to beat Pittsburgh
in the playoffs,
and it's pandemonium. And I'm just sitting there going, this is, what you're in store for, right? Like, it's going to be that, talk about relaxed. There was no chance that there was going to be any result but what happened.
I wasn't 100% relaxed because I didn't know if this was becoming some sort of religious football phenomenon that even the Patriots couldn't stop. But remember the line was, I remember it was 13.5. And it was like, wow, this is going to be under 2 touchdowns, Tim Tebow and Foxborough. Really? But then being also afraid to bet a lot of money on it because Tebow had been so out of his mind. Couple more. The Mo Lewis game, which was a loss. September 2001.
Well, that's a good honorable mention. It's a good way to start the whole conversation, you know.
Jets 10, Patriots 3.
Mo Lewis, arguably the most important player in Patriots history.
So Robert Mays is doing a piece for us about the 16 most important Patriots during the Belichick-Brady era because it's Patriots week. And it's going up later this week. And he asked me for thoughts. And I was like, I think Mo Lewis has to be on the list. If Mo Lewis doesn't hit Brady.
Bledsoe.
I'm sorry, if he doesn't hit Bledsoe, which, by the way, was one of the worst hits a quarterback has taken. Like, it almost collapsed his chest and he almost bled to death.
Bledsoe, quietly a crazily tough guy. Like, he came back for some huge hits. And
remember 94, how many big, 93 and 94, how you just get annihilated?
And he was like, he's the worst combination for a QB. If a guy's going to be like that slow and unathletic, you want him to be a puss.
Right.
But he was kind of like, I think I can turn the corner. You're like, you're so slow. You're going to get killed.
You and I didn't know each other at that point, but I spent basically from mid 97 through 01 just complaining about Bledsoe all the time. It started trickling in my columns. I remember I did a Ewing theory piece for ESPN.com the first year I had there. He was the first guy I mentioned, like, if he ever gets hurt, watch what happens. But now I feel bad because Drew Bledsoe was a great Patriot.
But interesting, and we'll get to Bledsoe's greatest contribution as a Patriot's coming up. Probably made the list. But the Bledsoe, there is a weird thing about being the number 1 overall pick and having the game has come easily to you your whole life. There's no chip on your shoulder. You've always been the biggest, best. I'm sure he hit 3rd in baseball. Like, he's just, he's 6'6", super athlete. And so I just don't think that guy wants to go home after a big win and watch game film. Like, Brady is always going to be a 6th round draft pick, like in his mind, So
in high school, he was like in the garage trying to teach himself balance.
It's like we benefit from the fact that Tom Brady is a cyborg whose like favorite hobby, top 10 favorite hobbies are breaking down game film.
I would say sleeping 1. Eating healthy 2, game film 3, working out 4.
Alex Guerrero might be on the top most important Patriots of all time.
That's true. We should have put him like 9th. Brady's 40, throwing 55-yard spirals to Brandon Cooks in practice. So anyway, Mo Lewis, September 2001, right before September 11, actually, or right after. It was right around there. All. And Brady comes in the next week, and we're gonna get to that in a second. Couple more. September 2011. Opening night, Pats 38, Dolphins 24. Brady with like 517 passing yards and 5 TVs. And this was fun from a fantasy standpoint because I think he had, it must have been like 48, 49 points week 1. And all of us were, that was when people started getting bored of taking Brady in fantasy leagues. So somebody got him for like $19 and I was like, oh my God, Brady just put up 49 points. And it was his big fantasy game.
When Brady, early on when, like, for example, when he took Ty Law's Super Bowl MVP award, it's like he was a game manager. He was like, he's not going to beat you. He's not going to hurt. He's smart. He's not. And then he just turned into Warren Moon. Like, I can put up whatever numbers you want me to put up. I can put up. And his end, I mean, you and I have watched it. His arm got stronger. Like he
got faster too.
It's the craziest.
The scramble he had in the Falcons Super Bowl was like the best scramble of his career. He's like dodging guys.
It's really hope for all us middle-aged dudes.
Last, 2 more honorable mentions. Pats 39, Steelers 26. This was October 2010. Sunday night in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's going to take a beating in this podcast. I'm sorry. 3 touchdowns for Rob Gronkowski, a rookie. That was the game where it was like, Gronk. Okay.
Another guy, a Shaquille O'Neal guy who's always open by virtue of his size.
Right. We're trying not to mention the accused double murderer Aaron Hernandez in this podcast that much, but 2010 and 11, when they had Gronk and Hernandez at the same time, I think at some point all of us came to the realization, wow, Belichick has figured out some sort of strategy with tight ends that is just
You
5
can't
years
double
ahead of
them
everyone
both.
else. Yeah, what do you do?
It was like
almost like it was like the
when they
Warriors.
started handing the ball off to the guy we will not mention, like now they're running sweeps with their other tight. What is going on?
Yeah, he's guns falling out of his jersey.
Allegedly.
The last one, honorable mention. This is a loss. November 2009, Colts 35, Pats 34. Belichick goes for it on 4th and 2. And this basically launches the advanced metrics era in football. We did not get the 4th down. Oh, no. And then
Kevin Falk, right?
Yeah, and then the Colts end up scoring. If we get the first down,
Game's
Manny
over.
doesn't get the ball back.
Yeah.
We get. My issue with the play was always that it was a shitty play. I remember I wrote like a 5,500
the
word column about
1.5
it.
yard pass route.
But also coming out of a timeout and, basically you should be running a 2-point conversion play, but you have 70 yards of the field to work with. You spread them out, use the field, and then but whatever they did, it was like this screen pass, Fox falling away from the line of scrimmage, and it was bad.
Well, but Belichick, the thing that's so amazing about Belichick, and this is as we get into the real games, the real top 25, Belichick he's a cyborg, obviously. Like the economist, the advanced metrics, he understood, he sees what's going on the field. So he combines real-time data, what he's seeing, with like his own supercomputer of knowing Manning is either going to go 70 yards or 35 yards or however, Manning's we can't stop him.
Yeah.
When he sees his defense and he knows we're not going to stop that guy. So he knows the best mathematical chance to win this game is to go for it on 4th and 2. And, all the old school guys, they don't know it. They're so far behind him. They don't know. It just seems crazy to them. And, and he got annihilated for it. The flip side of that is all the advanced metrics in the Seattle Super Bowl, which we might or might not get to, we literally might.
It's on the list.
The world may end before we get through this 10-hour podcast. But that all the advanced metrics say, well, you call timeout to give your quarterback a chance to tie the game with a field goal. But what he saw in real time trumped his supercomputer. Like, he knows his supercomputer would say, call timeout to leave your quarterback time for a field goal. But what he saw, the lack of organization in the Seahawks, he was like, oh, I think calling timeout would help them.
There's a good Super Bowl, there's good NFL Films clip of him watching the Seattle sideline. You can actually see him kind of looking over there, and they're like, timeout,
I think the game's going
timeout.
a little fast for them. Yeah, no. So
and he's
it's
just
like,
kind of looking over there going, no, let's ride this
so
out.
if anybody has earned the right not to be second guessed, whether it's doing the advanced metric and going on 4th and 2, or not doing the advanced metric and not calling timeout, it's like this guy he's like a mystic. Like he's just operating on a spiritual plane nobody else can understand.
Well, we lost that game.
Right.
I like the idea. I
Doesn't
still
mean
think
he
it
was
was
wrong.
I think it was a shitty play.
Yeah.
And I did second guess him for that because the other thing about that game, which turned out to be vindicated, was he's basically saying, I don't believe in my defense. So if you're going to do that, you better have the greatest play ever and you better get the 4th down so your defense doesn't go, wow, he thinks we suck. And as it turned out, we got killed in the playoffs that year. And
But
he
the other
didn't
thing
believe in it
about
for good reason.
thing about Belichick that's it's a great point, because I think on a lot of teams there would have been a lot of strife in the locker room, and that's such an FU to the defense, and then the defensive coordinator, there would have been a schism, and it's like everybody's on board, Patriot way.
Yeah.
No.
That's when you flash the rings. All right, we're going to get to the top 25 first. Let's talk about Quip, the new company refreshing the way people brush their teeth. Having good oral health impacts your overall health. Sarah Silverman once said that all death comes through the gums. I think that's a quote from her. Interesting. I don't know if it's true. Interesting quote.
My wife's very on board the dental health.
Yeah.
That is the key to life.
Well, 75% of us don't refresh our toothbrush bristles or visit the dentist on time. You don't need a big, expensive toothbrush either.
Once every 12 years. Never miss. I never miss.
Once every 12 years. Quip, an electric toothbrush, packs premium vibration timer features into an ultra slim design. Half the cost of bulkier brushes, almost like Apple designed a toothbrush, but without Apple's big price tag. Quip won a 2016 GQ Grooming Award. But Belichick's never won a GQ Grooming Award. It's one of the few. One of the few has won.
But if he went for it, he would.
And it made it on Oprah's 2017 New Year's O list. Quip toothpaste tastes fresh, strengthens teeth, I can't speak, and gives your mouth the perfect clean feeling. Quip starts at just $25. Subscribers receive new brush heads on a dentist recommended 3-month plan for just $5, including free shipping. Just get to getquip.com/BS for your first refill pack free with a Quip electric toothbrush. GETQUIP.com/BS. All right. We're going to get to the top 25, the 25 best Patriot wins since 2001. This list is going to be brought to you by Miller Lite, the presenting sponsor of our Ring Ring. It needs a sponsor.
I don't know who's luckier, that Miller Lite or us.
I think both of us. Miller Lite is brewed to not only taste great, but also be less filling. It only has 96 calories. It won't fill you up. It's brewed to be enjoyed from tip-off to final buzzer, or some cases on this list, OT. It's the original light beer and has been since we first showed up courtside in 1975. Both Miller Lite and me. I think I showed up courtside in 1974. All right, top 25. This first one was a forgettable game, but it has to be mentioned because I think the aliens will look back someday and be like, wow, that happened on the same day. October 17th, 2004. Pats 30, Seahawks 20. I happened to be at the game. The streak was in motion. I think this was either the 19th or 20th straight win, dating back to the previous year, which is crazy for the Pats. It ended up at 21. Pittsburgh broke it. Later that day, Fenway Park also went to that game. The steal, Dave Roberts. Same day, the Pats extending the greatest football streak of all time, and then Dave Roberts changes the course of Red Sox and baseball history.
That there's anybody who hates Boston sports who's still listening, but the fact that you're weaving in the first of 3 Red Sox championships just casually. Oh yeah, then I went over to Fenway where we ruined Mariano Rivera's career and won that World Series. Well, that game, I love that 2004 Patriots team so much too. Because I believe, and there's so many great Patriots teams, it's possible I'm wrong, but we had a crazy schedule that year, and the Patriots went 7-0 against teams with 10 or more wins. I mean, I'll ask Elias, but you never play 7 games against someone with 10 wins. It's not possible. Right. And we beat them all. And the thing, it's not quite Randy Moss in 2007, but Corey Dillon, that was the first time. It's see what happens when we have an elite running back. And he was spectacular. He was great in that game.
And the Boston sports history was always take a chance on the troubled guy. He'll tantalize you for a couple months, and then he'll let you down. Like Carl Everett is a great example. But just going through every team we had, there was always the troubled guy, but maybe he'll turn around here and be like, no, he didn't. Corey Dillon, we got one great year out of him. Then Belichick made one of his rare mistakes, signed him to another deal. Corey Dillon showed up 20 pounds heavier. It was immediately over. But that one year, he was a beast. He was awesome. What I remember about that day, it was a very kind of blah Patriots day. And I remember my friends that I was with, and we were like, wow, the Patriots, the fans, the expectations are just so high now. It's almost like...
But obviously, when you are in that anywhere in the environs of Boston, morale was so low.
Well, that's
after
what
game
I mean.
3 of the Red Sox.
So the Red Sox get killed the night before, also, which I went to. And then that Pats game, and it was wow, it's the crowd was kind of in the dumps. I think we knew we were better than Seattle. That giant Gillette Stadium, everybody was still getting used to. And then it was oh, now the Red Sox are going to get swept. And then it just flipped that night. And actually, it flipped after midnight.
I like this, Liz. You're kind of sort of giving the Patriots credit for that, too, the Dave Roberts.
That's why I brought it up. I don't know how they don't get credit. And within a week...
By the way, the links you sent me, if you click on the link to this game, it goes to Dave Roberts' steal.
I know.
Then I start watching that whole 9th inning.
So Dave Roberts...
And Mariano Rivera is so traumatized by blowing the save that... he stands in the middle of the infield and he cuts the throw, Bernie Williams lollipop, predictable lollipop to home plate that obviously wasn't going to get Dave Roberts. But Mariano Rivera is just out of position, standing near the mound. He shouldn't be the cutoff man. He cuts it off and he's just demoralized. Little did he know how much worse it was about to get.
I was talking to my friend Hershey today, who's a diehard Dodger fan. I was saying how much I'm enjoying this Dodgers historic season because Dave Roberts is the manager. And I was like,
we love that guy in perpetuity.
I was like, you got, first of all, it's the greatest steal of all time. It's like
most important stolen base.
What's the number 2 steal of all time? I don't even know. But
baseball history.
I was saying to him, you should watch.
I said that to him when I met him at Sonny McLean's.
I think he's heard it. Yeah. I think he's heard it. Probably
no, but I was drunk and I meant it.
But he almost gets picked off right before. That clip is incredible because Rivera really almost gets him.
And he never shortens his lead.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you're within an eighth of an inch of getting picked off, and you're like, I got this measured. And Rivera was such a great athlete. Like, his pickoff throw was like such
he was
precision. And
he was so great.
And Posada's throw is just a little to the wrong side of the bag, or it's like.
But as fast of a catch and throw as he's ever done. Bad news. Tate just killed himself. So the podcast, this is too much Boston.
We can handle it. He's pushing buttons.
Listen, sometimes you have to have a podcast that people can hate listen to too. So anyway, that was number 25. Number 24. There's a lot of lost games from the 01 to 04 range because so much has happened since. This is one of the classics. October 2003. Pats 19, Dolphins 13. Overtime final. Troy Brown with the 84-yarder for the win. And Two things about this. One is the Patriots never won games like this for our entire lives.
Not in Miami, we didn't.
Two, it's in Miami where they'd lost, I think, 13 straight games. And then 3, overtime Monday night. This is just like, nobody even remembers this happened. There's no videotape of it. I couldn't find it on YouTube. It's not on the internet. And yet Troy Brown 84 for a Monday night win. And it's like, wow, we just won in Miami.
Now this is going to be embarrassing. If Tate hadn't just killed himself, he could edit this out. But my recollection of this game is in the heat of.
It was hot.
But it's not a Monday night game, right? Is this a Sunday game? I'm remembering a hot, typical,
maybe it was Sunday.
Typical Sunday loss in Miami where we're hot, we're dehydrated,
you might be
play
right.
like dog shit.
It was definitely in Miami though.
And in typical, as we would grow to learn in typical Patriots fashion, Olindo Mare, a key part, the fact that this game's even in overtime, he shanks a 35-yarder. Like, think about it. Like, nobody misses 35-yarders anymore. Like, it's
there's 7 of them on this list.
And that, as Belichick redefined, as he systematically went through all our houses of horrors, and made,
this was the biggest house of horror.
That was a house of horrors, and then Troy Brown, he's got to be on that list of great the Patriots. I mean, literally defensive back.
We're gonna get to him. So one other thing about this game, you're talking about the Patriots and the Jets were dead even for depressed franchise fan bases basically until 2000, and the Jets even had their Super Bowl with Namath. We had nothing. We just had a couple losses and a drug scandal, and
we did beat them 56-3 when Harold Jackson scored 3 touchdowns. I remember watching that game in the late 70s.
One of the best things we had was we had the best left guard ever, John Hanna. He's the best left guard ever.
Yeah, 2-14. He's got to block some more guys. We're getting killed.
We had the Stanley Morgan was a Hall of Famer. He just had bad quarterbacks argument. I mean, this was dark.
Yeah. No.
And it flipped. But so the Pats won the Super Bowl in 01, which we'll get to. 02, they go 9-7. And it feels like, wow, that was, listen, it's so great they won the Super Bowl, but that was a complete fluke. And now we're back to being the Patriots again. 03 comes, Miami, we always lose here. We lose every time. And they win. And I feel like that started this next double Super Bowl run. It was like this game, that was kind of the tipping point. Number 23, October 2007. This was really the launch of the fuck you era of that 2017 before Sammy Morris got hurt, which Hench and I might talk about once a month. What if Sammy Morris hadn't gotten hurt? Even Sammy Morris isn't talking about it anymore. We're still bringing it up. We had no other running backs. Lawrence Maroney is probably the worst running back in the history of football. But Patriots 59. Tate. Patriots 59. Tennessee 0. 59-0.
Well, it's, 2007. I mean, some people would argue that Boston sports fans have always been sadists, but that was the peak sadism for Patriot fans. We were obviously not satisfied with winning. That winning was always was determined in the first 6 minutes of all these games. It was
the first 10 weeks. Yeah.
The Patriots are just going to win. Definitely. The game's over.
It flipped week 11.
And then it's now it's about we became as fans like we were King Joffrey. We were like we wanted it to be humiliating.
Yeah.
It was so brutal, the level of sadism, and I was on board. I was like, run it up. Why are we running the ball?
QB dive.
We could score 60. We could score 60. You know, like I was like, it was so wrong. And like we did get our King Joffrey comeuppance with the helmet catch. It was
the
our
helmet catch was the
bled
poison.
out because we're like, what are we watching?
Yeah.
Why is this close? We don't know what's going on. But we did get what we deserved because we were wrong. We were like, you know what? We should humiliate grown men 59-0. That seems like a perfectly fun way to spend a Sunday.
So for the hate listeners out there, we fully admit we were out of control. The fan base was out of control. Out of control.
We were out of control.
King Joffrey's great. I could have also gone with Cersei there.
Yeah.
We were ready to just blow up hundreds of people in the with
and then
little
and then we were chained to the wall.
Brady with
in the Super Bowl.
Just Brady.
Kerry Collins curse.
Yeah. Brady stats in this game: 29 for 34, 380, 6 touchdowns. Pretty good.
The thing I love about, I love pretty much everything about Brady, but you know, you and I both know people who had a mini boycott or a major boycott of their beloved Patriots for political reasons last year.
Yeah.
It definitely came up, and I was just thinking about, you know, it's funny that Brady is a fan of the president because they're the exact opposite. Brady goes 29 for 34 with 380 yards and 6 TDs and goes, you know, I got to work harder.
Yeah.
I missed a couple throws.
I missed an out pass.
I didn't make all the plays. We just got to keep getting better. And we're like, it was 59-0. How much better do you have to get? And then Trump is like, you know, turns in like a Ryan Leaf 2 for 18 with 6 picks. And he's like, a lot of people were saying that's the most amazing performance ever. Like, nobody is saying that. What are you talking about? But every time Brady goes to the podium, he's like, I got to get better. I got to get better. Love that guy, Brady.
Number 22, the only game Brady is not involved in this top 25. September 2016. Pats 23, Cardinals 21. Jimmy G. Pats as 8.5-point underdogs in Arizona. Everybody going, it's a
Cardinals are a Super Bowl team.
Cardinals are a Super Bowl pick. No Brady for 4 games because of the hideous Deflategate suspension that we're not going to talk about in this podcast. Let's just leave it over there. But Jimmy G wins, and yet again another shanked field goal brings us home. Chandler Catanzaro, whatever the hell his name is, he shanks
it.
Yeah,
it's funny though. It's because this is the Belichick Brady podcast. But it's like this. So it's like, you know, haters will go like, well, it's, you know, Belichick's a great coach because he has Tom Brady, or people say, you know, Brady is a benefit of Belichick's genius, and obviously you can't parse it. It's like they both make each other better.
It's like Lennon McCartney.
But the Garoppolo Brissett era and the Matt Castle 11-5 era.
Yeah, he went 11-5 with Matt Castle.
I mean, if you had to,
you're
like, I don't know. He's you know, we'll never get to know. Hopefully, desperately, I beg, we'll never get to see Brady end his career in a Lions uniform or any jarring Namath with the Rams moment. But Belichick we have seen without Brady, and it's pretty impressive.
So 11-5 with Castle, although week 1 against KC, I think Castle only played half the game. But then 3-1 with Garoppolo and Brissett. And maybe this year they don't play Brady till October. Would you play him the first 4 games?
Of course.
I wouldn't. I'd tell him to sit. Put him in a lawn chair. Give him a pina colada.
Good luck keeping him off the field. Brady, by the way, because you and I, whenever we're emailing during games, which is every Sunday, but like there's invariably that moment where we're like, why is Brady still in the game? And it's like, I don't think he wants to come out. I just don't think he...
It's 30-7 with a minute and a half left.
Like he took a couple sacks last year with that kind of score line. Where it was like, he's in the game, we're passing, and he's getting
wrecked. Number 21, Pats 29, Chargers 26. Overtime, October 2001. This is the first Brady comeback drive. So now, I was choosing between this one and when they beat the Colts, I think 2 weeks before. But that was like Brady's first start. They beat the Colts. Like it felt like, that was fun. That was a fluke. They get killed in Miami the next week. Then this San Diego game, they're down late. This is Brady's first comeback drive.
They're going to go 1-4 if they lose this game.
Yeah.
Their record
and I remember
1-4.
watching it going, oh, this kid might have something. There might be something here. This is
Lee Johnson, the punter, hands the Chargers a 10-point lead.
Yeah.
And, of course, we don't know what we're seeing. We don't know what we're seeing. We're like, is this Hugh Millen? I don't know. Like, what's this guy going to be? And now we look back and we go, oh, we're seeing the future.
He does this at home, and it's the first time.
I watched that game with Cousins out.
Number 20. Man, there's people out here that are listening to this podcast because they hate us or they hate themselves, or maybe both. They're going to really hate this. Number 20 is Super Bowl 39.
Oh, this is where I was like, when you have Super Bowl victories that barely crack your top 20 victories of all time,
I stand by it.
It's a Super Bowl victory. It probably needs to be a little bit higher, but I love that team though. I love that 2004 team. It's just like so balanced. Pass run, Corey Dillon, he had a good Super Bowl. And then, of course, this Super Bowl, there's so many moments where Belichick versus Andy Reid, whoever, just separates as a coach. Like a lot of these victories, if it's not a kicker shanking, it's a coach shanking a 30-yarder. Like it's a coach coaching poorly. And like the absolute absence of urgency from the Eagles when, by the way, we couldn't cover Terrell Owens. Like, you need to be making as many possessions as possible in this game. And they were just walking, huddling up.
It was the 10-minute drive.
It was crazy.
He threw up in the huddle, which we didn't know. So the reason I put this 20, it was it's always great to win the Super Bowl, obviously.
It is always great to win the Super Bowl. Let's not lose sight.
One of the things I've learned this century.
That.
But,
we're
coming
every once in a while when we have to go a couple of years without winning one, we remember.
All right. Now you're just trying to get Tate to stab us. But so they come off, they kill the Colts, they kill the Steelers in Pittsburgh. And now we're like, all right, if when they kill the Eagles with Terrell Owens who has a broken leg, this is now the greatest football team of all time. Game unfolds. We can't cover Terrell Owens. The crowd, it's in Jacksonville. It was a terrible week in Jacksonville. None of the Pats fans went for this game because they had been to the other two. So it's all Eagles fans. All of us are in Jacksonville in this weird stadium. And the Eagles fans turn on the team about, I don't know, early in the second quarter. They just get mad at the team.
That doesn't sound like Philly. That does not sound like Philly fans.
There's this weird energy in the stadium the whole time. The Pats don't play well. It felt in the stadium like the Eagles lost the Super Bowl, that we didn't totally win it. We get to play at the end. It was weird. It was weird walking out of there.
There is a classic Brady throw. By the way, David Givens, I'm sure he won't make the list of the all-time most important Patriots, but he did just score touchdowns in playoff games for a solid stretch. Like
he became a big receiver with size.
And it is that game where Brady does a left sideline to right sideline. He goes through his progressions where he literally goes ping, 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 like the Terminator. Just like no touchdown. Like it's a perfect Tom Brady. The game, that's the thing that you can't do in a scouting combine. You just can't see inside the guy's brain.
I lowered that one.
You're a little harsh on that one. But
I'm a little harsh on that one because I would never watch it again. To me, like the great games from that playoffs were the Colts game and the Steelers game, which I would watch 100 times. I can't see myself being like, let's watch this Eagles game and I can watch how Andy Reid gave us the Super Bowl.
Because I hadn't become King Joffrey yet with the sadism in 2007. There was, I did like the fact that we won those first three by a field goal. Like we didn't waste it. We won, but we scored exactly enough.
Well, that was the great thing about those 03-04 teams is how many close games they won. They won so many close games that it stopped being an accident. At some point, it was like, oh, this game's close. Fourth quarter, we're going to win. This team knows how to close games, knows how to win. And
it's all setting us up for helmet catch.
Yeah.
We never lose these games.
Well, it's really all setting us up for Colts 2006.
Oh, my God.
Which was the secret devastating Patriots loss of this, blowing the 19-point lead.
Rex Grossman waiting for us in the cakewalk Super Bowl.
Oh, my God. 3rd and 3. They botch it. I mean.
Too many men in the huddle penalty.
Okay. Right. We're up to 19. We'll make this one quick. November 2013. Pats 34, Broncos 31. Brady versus Manning. Sunday night, Gillette Stadium. Pats down 24-0. They roar back. I think the Broncos did something dumb in this game to help us. I can't even remember what
They
it was.
fumbled
but
a punt, I think, that started it.
good one. This was on the Brady Manning thing. We were like getting nostalgic for when it was going to end, even as it was still going on. And then they had this great game on Sunday night.
I know, just to the Peyton Manning of it all, because like obviously, we've seen so much of this rivalry, non-rivalry, whatever, through the Manning Brady lens.
It became a rivalry,
and it was like, but after the 4 neck surgeries, you and I were laughing at this Denver misadventure, and what he did in Denver,
I know,
is so shocking.
What they score 600 plus points that one year,
55 touchdown passes. Like he put that one, he buried like the record. That's just like there aren't enough games to break that record now. So that one was particularly gratifying because the scales had definitely turned in the Manning direction.
That's a really fun game to zoom through on YouTube again. Number 18, Pats 25, Bills 24. September 2009, week 1, Brady's return from the torn ACL. And of course, it was a Monday night comeback win. And we miss Brady so much that year. To have him just pulled away for an entire year. The only other experience I've had with that, I guess there's been 2. When Bird's back went out and he missed the whole 80-89 season. And then when Pedro got hurt in 01, where it was like, I should have appreciated this comet that passed through our lives in 99 and now he's not going to pitch.
But that game again, there's so many of these games, there is a level of complicity from the opponent that is shocking in retrospect. The Patriots are down double digits late in that game, and then Brady hits Watson to make it 24-19. Yeah. And then we're kicking off with 1:56 left.
Yeah, Bills are getting the ball back.
And we're going to kick. They have their hands team on because they're expecting onside kick. And so, again, this is Belichick. So it's like the metrics would say you probably are supposed to onside kick. He kicks it long to Leotis McKelvin with basically no blockers because the hands team's out there. And then McKelvin actually catches it in the end zone and could take a knee.
Nope.
You know what? I got my hands team out there. I'm going to return it. Fumble. Brady hits Watson again. 25-24. Bills, I believe, lost 2 Monday night games by the score of 25-24. I mean, if you get a 5 in the Super Bowl grid, you're like, I can just throw this ticket out. 5. 25-24.
So we got to take a quick break to talk about Zeal.com.
Okay.
Everyone loves massages. It's always hard to book one. But if you could book a 5-star top quality massage at a time that works for you in the most convenient place of all, your home, well, why wouldn't you do that? Zeal.com, same day in-home massages with the best licensed and vetted massage therapists on demand at home. Download the iPhone or Android app, select the massage therapist, choose your favorite technique, gender preference, time, and location for your massage 365 days a year. Tom Brady doesn't need this because he just has his cadre of masseuses and Alex Guerrero handpicked berries and all the stuff that he eats. But normal people need this. They could be there in less than an hour, the massage table, music, everything you need to turn your living room into a spa. Zeal costs on average 20 to 50% less than going to a local spa or hotel. Find out for yourself why they've been featured in the Wall Street Journal and Good Morning America. And guess what? Our listeners can get $25 off their first massage by using the promo code BS at checkout. Sign up for Zeal's massage membership. Get 20% off all your massages, plus a free massage table and sheet set, a $380 value, yours free. No initiation fee to join the membership. ZEEL.com. Make sure you click add promo code at checkout to use my code BS. Get $25 off your first in-home on-demand. So, number 17, January 2004. Pats 17, Titans 14.
Oh, we watched this one together.
Yeah. The Frozen game.
Oh, my God. Is there a ball Vinatieri can't kick?
He kicked 48 yards, basically to win it, and it was a rock. And the thing went up in the air, and it was like it was like Sully Sullenger's plane.
Yeah.
Just kind of Sully Sullenberger.
Chesley.
It was like Chesley Sullenberger's plane. He's just wobbling and somehow goes 48 yards. And then there was a big Drew Bennett drop as well. But this was, you get to the playoffs and you had the Patriots were better than the Titans that year, but then you have these freezing weather games. The crowd's dead. Everyone's wearing clothes and mittens and there's no energy. And all of a sudden it's 14-14. You're going, wait a second, are we going to blow this? No.
No.
Great win. Steve McNair, always kind of scary against us.
And Javon Curse on that team, right?
Yeah. Number 16. Oh, man. I'm afraid to unleash you on this game. Pats 27, Ravens 24. December 2007. Monday night.
This is like
Pats go to 12-0 on probably a bogus pass interference call on Ben Watson on
And
fourth
again,
and 5.
we don't know that the red wedding is awaiting us. So these games down the stretch, like we are in full 19-0, 19-0. We're just like that. We have
nothing
one,
less,
nothing less. And so in retrospect, I believe that if we had lost any of these games, even the 38-35 game that we're coming to against the Giants, the Moss record game, we would have won the Super Bowl. Like it just there's something gets let out. Like there's a relaxation that occurs if you're not trying to stay perfect that lets you win the Super Bowl.
I do think there was a lot of mental attrition as we got into late November, December, especially January. Like even remember the Chargers AFC title game, which did not make the list. Phil Rivers playing on the torn ACL and still giving it to us, but. The team just seems so tired at the end of that game.
I mean, I just think a loss followed by like take the day off, guys, or not practicing in pads, whatever, could have gone a long way. But this game is so crazy. Not just, and look, I know why the guy threw the flag. Like the guy had his hands on Watson the whole time. You know, like he's not really holding him, but you got to stop touching him at some point. You've been running with him for 10 yards. So I could understand the flag, but obviously going back to they stopped them on 4th and short.
Yeah.
But Rex Ryan had called timeout. You're not allowed to grant timeout to the coordinator. They but if you're the side judge, some guy's yelling timeout and you look and it's Rex Ryan. It's like he's not the head coach, but they give him the timeout. Ray Lewis and Ed Reed are furious, demoralized. Then, timeout. Come back out for 4th and 1. They're running the Heath Evans dive play that 0 for 2000. I mean, even the fullback dive on 4th and 1, yet to work in NFL history.
Or video games.
It's the worst play in the world. And of course, Heath Evans gets tackled 2 yards in the backfield, but Stephen Neal had flinched. He had started to go to pull. He had already started to miss his block.
Yeah.
Nobody got blocked on the play. And so the false start gives them 4th and 6 to set up the Ben Watson call,
PI.
But there was a multiple.
Which the PI was somehow a 4th and 5 Hail Mary. Brady goes back, he's under pressure, he just kind of lobs it in the end zone. Ben Watson gets racked. So then next play,
Tom Brady
in the end zone.
Gaffney in the end zone on a
left
catch,
corner.
On a catch that as I rewatched it was like, everything video wise has gotten better these days. And that ball is kind of wobbling on his palm a little bit as he goes out of bounds. And I do feel like that could have been called back, overturned. Right. But anyway, so we were thrilled to survive that one.
But we would have been better off losing that game.
But we would have been better off.
Tony Kornheiser on the announcing in that. You can hear Mike Tirico freezing him out during the crunch time drive.
Well, he kept using a phrase, the inevitability of tragedy or something that did not belong in a football booth. Tragic inevitability.
Number 15. Now we're getting to. We're now getting to the elite ones. This is the AFC title game, January 2012. Pats 23, Ravens 20, which I had always remembered as the Sterling Morris strips Lee Evans. Lee Evans seemed like he caught the touchdown for 7 seconds and got stripped. And
Lee Evans like, this would be a great time to relax. I've been playing all day. I could keep clutching this ball for another second, but I want to get my relaxation on right now.
He definitely seemed like
I'm
caught it.
I'm going to call Zeal.com, get my massage.
I'm going to pick my massage table. So he didn't catch it. How much time was left?
That's
like 30 seconds left?
And then Billy Cundiff.
And Billy Cundiff
joins the Alindo Mari, Catanzaro long list of field goal kickers who have been complicit in this top 25.
So I actually forgot that Cundiff missed the field goal. I just remembered it as Sterling Moore, and that I'm old, and the games mixed together, and I was like, Sterling Moore stripped Lee Evans, and we won the game, and then I forgot the part where Billy Cundiff came in and missed a 32-yarder.
A 32-yarder. That's funny ways as you talk about like you getting older, and obviously, in our defense, there's so many great victories. But there were moments where I was like, Tully Banta-Kane really kind of forgot all about like making plays. Like they're guys that are just
Right.
like patriots who are like, that guy contributed.
Well, another thing to watch, and a lot of these are on YouTube. One thing I forgot was at some point it's like second down, and that's just like they're really picking on Edelman now. And then the Ravens have the ball, and I'm like, they're picking on Edelman. Oh shit, Edelman was our nickelback that year. I forgot. Yeah, it's like Julian Edelman was our nickelback.
Yeah.
Probably the third best receiver in Patriot history, playing nickelback in the AFC title game. This was the game that Gronk got hurt, and I can't remember if he got hurt in this game or before, but he was hurt in this game, and then is the reason we didn't win that Super Bowl this year. It was basically Gronk on one leg. But Gronk being out of this game, and the Ravens having a lot of confidence playing in Foxborough, and there was all of a sudden during the game, you're like, oh fuck, we're gonna lose this. The Ravens were the big. They're the number one nemesis we had during this run, right?
Yeah, I mean Ray Rice game.
Yeah, they killed us a couple times.
The Welker drop game.
That was a classic. A narrow escape. There's a lot of narrow escapes. That was one of the more narrow ones. Number 14, AFC title game, January 2005 in Pittsburgh. Pats 41, Steelers 27. I titled this one a very Brady ass kicking. We watched this with Damashek at Adam Carolla's house. Yeah. Damashek stormed out in the second quarter, which was my favorite part of the game. Brady had the flu. We didn't know if he was going to play.
I probably have this one higher. This game was unbelievable. They were supposed to beat us. It's just like,
well, we didn't think they were going to beat us.
They thought they were going to beat us, but that's a good example of they broke the streak earlier that season.
Right.
And you don't, it helps you somehow to lose, helps you. That loss helped us win this game. But the throw to Deion Branch,
which was the best throw of the first half of Brady's career.
Oh my God. It's such an unbelievable throw. The other thing, like, it's funny because, Vinatieri, Gostkowski are like the Montana Young, Favre, Rodgers. Like, we just have had an elite kicker for so long.
But let's talk about how crazy that is, because our whole lives we had the worst kickers ever.
Hey, man. Snowplow game, John Smith.
We had English soccer player John Smith, who just would shank 28-yarders.
But so then Vinatieri sets the record at the time for, in that game, longest field goal. It's brutally cold. Like,
it's in Heinz
how is
Field.
this the longest?
Yeah.
No one made a longer field goal in September when it was 84 degrees. Like, and that field goal, like, oh yeah, your guy's been kicking here. He can't make a field goal from here. Our guy can, even the fact they sent him out there, again, he's kicking a brick, doesn't matter. He could kick a literal brick. And that field goal, coupled with the Brady throw to Branch, and then
who was the Steelers quarterback in this game?
Roethlisberger. He's a rookie, and so
you're right.
So Rodney Harrison just reads that out. He just reads it, like reads Roethlisberger, and he picks the pass off to the flat, and then Rodney Harrison holds the ball just like the loaf of bread for 50 yards. He's just, and Roethlisberger, who we didn't really know how athletic he would become. Like, he's actually a guy who could tackle you. But Harrison was like, I know you're not going to tackle me. And he just taunts him the whole way. And it was just like kind of the nail in the coffin. I mean, that game was actually not as close as 41-27. That game was over early.
I don't have the good recollection of that game because I remember drinking happily as soon as Brady I was like, oh, we got this. Brady made that pass. It was like, but then the Steelers kind of came back near the end there.
But it wasn't close.
Wasn't close. Number 13. Now we're really getting to the OG games. October 2003, Pats 38, Colts 34 in Indy. Goal line stand.
Oh,
this was
Willie.
We all loved Willie McGinnis. I think the non-Patriot fans, like looking from afar, they would just throw him into the Ty Law, that whole group. Willie was the guy. Willie was like, he replaced Andre Tippett basically as the coolest defensive player we had. He had a great name, cool number. A lot of jerseys started trickling the thing. And this was his defining play. Set up by the fact that he faked the injury to get off the field to stop the clock before they made the rule to change that. Then miraculously came back in.
I feel good.
Made the fourth down stop and then ran 55 yards in a full sprint with a
typically exhausted Patriots defense at the end of every Indy game. Like just gassed.
This game was like, wow, we own the Colts.
Yeah.
Because we had beaten them a couple times, but then winning in their house, setting the tone, it's like, we own these guys. And then the playoffs the next two. And I really wanted to live the rest of my life thinking we own the Colts. And then Manning just flipped it in like 05.
Well,
and the last half of that decade, they beat us way more than we beat them.
The 21-3 lead in Indy.
The 06.
It's funny. I was actually thinking, like, I guess if you could just change one Patriot result in your lifetime, it would have to be 19-0. You know, you'd have to take that Super Bowl. But
I don't know.
We were going to smoke the Bears. And
06.
it's like that game was so frustrating because the Giants did outplay us. Like, and
that game,
and,
you know, in wrestling when they have the championship belt, the Money in the Bank, where it hangs over the ring. Rex Grossman was like, hanging over the roof of that game. It's like, you get to play that guy if you win this game. That was
devastating,
excruciating. Well, nobody wants to hear us complain about a Patriots loss. But that fourth down.
Wait till I start complaining about Tom Brady's terrible throws. It's coming up.
The four down stop in Indy. It's great. It's a great YouTube. It's fun to rewatch. Great. Willie's greatest. I love it. Number 12, Pats 30, Broncos 26. This was November 2003.
More advanced metrics.
Monday in Denver. Belichick takes the safety.
Down 24.
Down by point.
24-23.
Down a point.
He can either punt from his end zone down 1, which means the field goal still wins it.
But they were on like the 1 yard line.
1 yard line, or he can punt, from the 20.
Credit to Al Michaels for calling it out before they did. It's like, hey, would they take the safety here? They do it, and all of us are like, what the fuck just happened?
Because you're still kind of like, well, now you need a touchdown. Like it's a field goal ties it, but then of course.
Well, we're giving them the ball back, which was the worst part.
So now we got to get the ball back. I mean, you couldn't go for it, obviously, in that situation. But Belichick vindicated, as always.
Get the ball back somehow. Brady rolls down, 30-26 final. And that was like when we were all like, wow, Belichick. I will follow you into the depths of hell.
It's like, I feel like there are a lot of guys who have their philosophy, whatever it is, Bo Schembechler, Woody Hayes. But like Belichick, it does not have an ideology. It's what does this moment call for?
And same thing with his football system. It's like, we're better throwing this year. All right, let's throw the ball this year. We don't have enough linebackers this year. All right, let's run a 4-2-5.
He's just constantly evolving. Yeah. Just constantly
That's my favorite thing about him. Whereas you look at like Phil Jackson's like, triangle, guys. This worked for me 28 years ago. We're doing it. So that was a classic. And we should mention David Givens, who's one of the big winners of this podcast. Left corner of the end zone, like a 20-yarder, hauls it in. He had some big catches. All right, last one before we get to the top 10. January 2007, round 2. Pats are, I think, 5 or 6 point underdogs in San Diego. LT's doing a lot of talking. There's a lot of Charger
team
Super
was
Bowl
great.
thing.
That defense was physical.
LT's coming off the greatest fantasy year anyone's ever had in their lives. Remember that? LT single-handedly won 20 million fantasy titles that year. And the Patriots have nobody.
This might be the ultimate.
This is the ultimate Belichick win.
Other coach conspires to let
was
win
that Marty
Schottenheimer? It's the first quarter. It's 4th and 11. Nate Keating is the all-pro kicker. It's sunny in San Diego. It's a 49-yarder. It's a chip shot for that guy.
Right.
And he goes for it on 4th and 11. Like, whose chart in the bright sunshine of San Diego? Like, this is not a tough decision.
I remember us talking about this game going, all right, Rashae Caldwell's our number 1 receiver. We're in San Diego. Tomlinson's having the greatest year of all time. But we have Belichick going against Marty Schottenheimer. We got this. We can do this.
And of course the game is over. There are a couple of the games on this list where it's like the game is essentially over.
This game was over for this was like the Lee Evans. For a second and a half, the game's over.
Marlon McCree, I believe, picks Brady off. Brady didn't play great in this game.
No, Brady's not good. But in his defense, Rashae Caldwell and Lawrence Maroney were his skill guys. Ben Watson. This is not the...
There are a lot of highlights as you go to YouTube on this list where it's like Brady under center, Maroney in the eye. Like, oh, my God.
Patrick pass split out wide.
Yeah. So Brady throws the game-ending pick to Marlon McCree.
Yeah.
And the game's over. And again, Leotis McKelvin, Marlon McCree, just take a knee. Game's over. Just take a knee. And the great Patriot, all-time great Patriot, receiver, punt returner, DB, Troy Brown puts his defensive hat on and strips McCree. And it's actually, they reminded me
Not on YouTube.
that there is we used to do this when we were kids, which is like you're playing touch football and it's 4th down and you have no chance of getting a first, or it's like you got to score, basically, you have 4 plays to score.
Right.
You could actually throw the ball directly to the other team's worst player in the hopes that he would catch it and then just take it away from him to get a new set of downs.
Right.
That's basically what Troy Brown did at Marlon McCree. Although Marlon McCree, not the Chargers' worst player on that day, Marty Schottenheimer.
So you thank Marty Schottenheimer first for that game?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, you just obviously not a crazy decision. They did give it to LaDainian just over and over, but that's a good example of Schottenheimer. I don't think possesses the Belichick supercomputer to go, you know what might work today? Play action. He's like, this guy's carried us. We're just going to pound him. I think they ran like 90% 1st and 10. They just handed the ball to him.
I feel like we kind of own Tomlinson. A lot of guys have owned the Patriots over the years. Tomlinson was one of those where I just felt like, and the stats don't back it up, he had really good games against bats, but just 10 years later, I'm like, I always felt like we could beat those Tomlinson teams.
A couple of times,
yeah.
Like a couple of runs. I was at one of those games.
Hey, our friends at Squarespace make it easy to build beautiful websites, whether you're planning to start a business, change careers, launch a creative project. Now that 2017 is more than halfway through, you should absolutely be tackling your next move with Squarespace. Widely used by all kinds of people and businesses, Squarespace gives you the ability to create an online platform with which you can make your latest goals a reality. Do you have any goals left as a Boston sports fan?
Patrice Bergeron, Hall of Fame.
Okay. Raphael Devers becoming the next Pujols.
Wow.
We had a whole.
I was just trying to come up with the the guy who made the jump from mid to low minors.
We
to
went
Hall
on a
of Fame.
Devers Pujols text thread.
And Devers,
let's destroy that.
Yeah,
I don't want to hurt his career. Whether you need a landing page, a beautiful gallery, a professional blog, or an online store, it's all included in your Squarespace website. A unique domain experience that is fully transparent, simple to set up, add and arrange your content and features with the click of a mouse. Nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever. You should get a Squarespace. You should have a Squarespace website where you just put your crazy Boston complaints.
That guy's still complaining. How is it possible?
The best ever was when you were complaining about Brady's deep balls for 3 years.
This is the worst duck boat parade yet. This duck boat parade is so slow. You got another live read?
I'm almost done with this one. Okay, Squarespace's award-winning 24/7 customer support will help you no matter how hard or easy your problem may be. Start a free trial at squarespace.com. Use offer code BS. You get 10% off your first purchase plus a free domain. You could have henchbostoncomplaints.com. You just grab that. Again, squarespace.com, offer code BS. Squarespace, make your next move. Make your next website.
You should offer... you could maybe tack this onto the top of this podcast. If somebody can establish that they're a Jets fan or a Dolphins fan or, basically any other team's fan who made it all the way through this podcast, they should get something from Miller Lite or Squarespace or Zeal. Like it's just
none of them will make it.
I can't imagine. Why would they? This podcast.
No, I think the Jets fans are all listening to this with deep, deep, deep hate.
This podcast for a non-Patriots fan would be like Bubba saying, "Hey Hillary, let's watch the election returns again." It's good
Top
times.
10. Top 10 time.
Woo!
December 2007, week 17. Pats 38, Giants 35. 16-0. The best thing about this game, for me, the Giants are giving us a great fight. It's in Giant Stadium. There's a lot of Giant. They really want to stop the streak. There's a big stakes. I think it was a Sunday night.
It was a night game for sure.
Or Saturday night? Saturday night. And Brady hits Moss.
Unbelievable.
Brady hits Moss and Moss drops it. Remember that?
Yeah.
Deep pass. We're going to take the lead. Moss is going to get the record for touchdowns of the season. All of it's going to happen. And he drops it. Next play. Same fucking play. But Moss is running somehow 5 miles an hour faster. He's open by 10 yards. Brady hits him in stride. Breaks the record. Pats win the game. That was my favorite moment of that season.
Well, I mean, again, if we had I feel like if we'd lost that game or the Ravens game and gone 15-1 and won the Super Bowl, we'd have been like, that was okay. It was an okay season. Like, that's how crazy we were at that point. We were like, we have to run the table.
Well, but a lot of that was driven by Spygate and the Patriots.
Yeah, no.
And we had never really felt the dagger of anti-Patriots, really anti-Boston stuff since the mid-'80s with the Bird teams, where the entire country was like, we hate you. We want you to lose. It was like, wow,
well,
you hate
this
us?
podcast will solve all that.
But there's some great YouTube stuff of people in the stands filming that Moss thing, and there's one somebody deep on the high up in whatever the stadium was called back then, and you just see Moss, who's like a gazelle. I've never seen in person. I mean, I'm sure there's been other receivers kind of like that. I'm sure Rice was
He's
like
built
that.
like
a lot.
Usain Bolt. Like those strides
It
are
was Usain
so
Bolt.
long.
There was nobody like Moss.
Just separating.
Tate, you're unbiased.
Yeah.
Was there anyone like Moss?
No. of
Okay.
course not.
All right. Number 9. AFC title game, January 2004. Pats 24, Colts 14. My notes for this were a Foxborough bad weather physical fuck you Manning game. That
We
pretty much
watched
sums
that
it up.
one together. We watched both
Yeah.
those games together. The Colts in the bad weather.
The Pats defense that year, that was like height of Brewski.
Well, that game,
Ty Law,
the stat
Willie.
from that game is Ty Law and Marvin Harrison both caught 3 balls.
Wow.
That's just like, he shut him down. He had 3 picks. Harrison had 3 catches. And that game, I never heard of it. I mean, whatever, maybe this happens all the time. This is that level of 3-dimensional chess. Rodney Harrison and Ty Law were like so elite at what they did. And a big part of Manning's game, I guess any quarterback's name, is you come up to the line of scrimmage and you see what they're showing you. And then you know where you're going basically based on matchups. You're like, okay, that guy can't cover that guy, or that guy's doubled, or they're in a zone, or whatever. The quarterback who can read in real time what's happening on the field, much like the way Tracy Porter read what the Colts were doing in the Saints-Colts Super Bowl and picked off Manning. I just want to get that in, in case any Colts fans are still listening. Pick 6. But Rodney Harrison and Ty Law did this game in that where Rodney Harrison and Harrison would play corner and Ty Law would play safety. They would flop. This is called flopping. So that when you come up, you're like, well, I know Rodney Harrison's a safety, but what's he doing? It's just like to F with the quarterback's mind, and it worked, and I mean, and those bad weather, that was sort of the dawn of the Manning face, right? He was just so overwhelmed by the defense.
What
and
was the year that the fans were chanting "cut that meat" at him? It was either that year he did that commercial with the "cut that meat," and then the fans were chanting it at the end of the game. I think that one might be coming up, but yeah, that was like
those games were really
a great defense.
Oh, that defense!
And the skill position guys were not there yet. I don't even who was the running back in that second Super Bowl season. Was it
Antoine Smith?
Was it still Antoine Smith?
Yeah, I think he
Can't
was
even remember.
83 yards rushing against.
I think
the
there was a lot
Panthers.
of Kevin Falk that year.
Kevin
you're
Falk
right.
is all over these highlights. Like, you forget how incredible that guy was because he was never the number 1 back.
That was the thing. Like, Troy Brown invented what that slot receiver position would look like with Brady. Kevin Falk invented the third down back. And then you go all the way through to that Falcons Super Bowl, and it's like Edelman's in the Troy Brown spot.
James White.
James White's in the Falk spot. It's basically the
Deion
same
Lewis.
model. Yeah. All right, number 8. 2002, January, AFC title game. Pats 24, Steelers 17. Pats were huge underdogs.
Double digits.
Pittsburgh had planned their Super Bowl trip already. Cordell Stewart. I picked the Pats to win. I was not sold on Cordell Stewart. I felt like the Pats team was special. I was probably being a homer too, but this is either the Bledsoe game or the Troy Brown game. What would you say it's first?
Well, I mean, 1 and 1A, but Troy Brown has the punt return for a touchdown, which I don't know if you've heard Dave Damashek has some opinions about this play.
About because they
move the ball to the other hash mark.
Right.
It's like we would have kicked it away from him.
Right.
But
it's a really weird punt return too. It's like he catches it at like midfield and just kind of
he
dances.
never gets up to speed.
Yeah,
He
nobody
just
touches
jogs,
him. Yeah.
But so he has the punt return for a touchdown, and then he also has the crazy
blocks a field goal.
He laterals to
He
Antoine
blocked the field
Harris.
goal, too.
And it's like, I mean, it's so spur of the moment. So he basically counted for 2 special teams touchdowns.
Yep.
So even though, that's another game where the offense mustered 1 touchdown and special teams mustered 2 touchdowns.
So Brady gets hurt in a low hit.
Yeah. And
Bledsoe comes
an
in.
incredibly vicious low hit. I don't know if Steelers fans are familiar with this, but sometimes a Steeler will go in low on a quarterback and obliterate them in a playoff game. And so Larry Flowers, I think was the guy's name, who hit Brady somewhere between his knee and his ankle. Not as bad as Kimo Von Ohoffen. I mean, whatever. I'll let Damashek decide. But so Brady is trying to walk it off, trying to stay in the game. Obviously, 6th round draft pick, I'm never coming out, but he can't. He literally can't play. Bledsoe comes in. David Patton had not caught a pass in that game. He hits Patton 3 in a row. They're all unbelievable throws. They literally might be the best 3 throws of his career.
Comes in cold.
Cold, runs out there, bang, bang, bang.
Hold on. One thing about this, we all feel guilty during this Pats run because Bledsoe, who got hurt, almost dies, basically, almost bleeds to death. Brady comes in, takes his job. October and November turned into Brady or Bledsoe, Brady or Bledsoe. I'm living in Boston that year. It was all anyone talked about, Brady or Bledsoe. All of us who were smart were we can't take out Brady where he's winning. We can't take this guy out. Feel bad about Bledsoe. He's this guy they just gave him this $100 million contract to, number 1 pick in 93.
And pretty good.
And a good football player.
No reason for us to be mad at him.
And we're basically like, thanks for everything, Drew. We have our new guy now. The fact that he was able to come in and save this game was a great wrinkle to this season.
Absolutely.
It really was. I was so happy for him. And by the way, he wasn't that great after that first drive. If you watch, that game's a heart attack after he throws. I think they drop or touch like 5 passes of his.
Oh, but Chris Brown, again, Steelers kicker, the blocked field goal is like a 34-yarder. Like it's like, again, another kicker on the Cundiff, Olindomari, Catanzaro list of like, you can't get that thing up. Like, come on, how's that getting blocked?
Can't chip that. Number 7. Round 2, January 2005. Pats 20, Colts 3. I wrote down 3-point dogs. We were 3-point dogs at home, which was just incredible. Bad weather.
So their point total matched. They only scored as much as they were favored by.
Bad weather. And Manning felt like Manning got broken in this game. Turns out we were all wrong. He did not get broken. But just an ass kicking. And there was a lot of like, we don't have a lot of respect. Nobody believes in us with this Pats team, which is crazy because it was the 3rd Super Bowl season, but it was effective. It was great for this team. Really, Manning's favored? And that was perfect. I'm so glad that the Colts were favored in that game.
We probably should have a Richard Seymour mention, like just how much we loved watching that guy play, like just caving in.
Yeah.
However many guys they blocked him with, that portion of the line just got caved in on every play.
He was a beast that season.
And
that was a great defense.
Belichick had to time it with every guy. Every guy he let go. Seymour was pretty good on the Raiders. Like he wasn't great, but like, of the list of guys, the Titans signed Givens. I mean, Branch in Seattle. Like it's a shocking. Laura Malloy in Atlanta. Like it's a shocking list of no one ever did anything, but Seymour was still good.
It was a defensible trade because the Raiders were so incompetent at the time, and we were all like, "Whoa, we traded Richard Seymour," and then it was like, "We get the Raiders first pick.
We're not going to see them." Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah, and that was one of those 2 games was the cut that meat game. All right, top 6. I probably put this one too high, but it is my 2nd favorite home game on this list. And I don't know. January 2015, round 2, Pats 35, Ravens 31.
Oh,
huge home comeback. Edelman.
That is not too high, by the way.
Okay, good. Edelman.
I could see the look in your eye. You were really worried that you'd put it too high.
I remember you got me psyched out after I put the Super Bowl 20, Super Bowl 39, number 20.
It's only 14 spots higher than a Super Bowl win.
I remember we having this discussion with you because we're both psychotic. Edelman was a college quarterback. They would always mention it, and they never ran a pass for Edelman. And you'd run out of things to complain about at this point. We're like, they always talk about how Edelman's a college quarterback. Belichick's such a stubborn asshole. He'll never run a pass for him. And he's just saving it. He's like, This isn't my fire extinguisher case. I'm going to break this in case of emergency. And this was the emergency.
Well, in the Do Your Job
It's a perfect pass.
documentary,
Do Your Job, which is the Godfather 2 of sports documentaries.
Highly recommend. Shocking recommendation. I believe it was David Givens. Like, the Patriots had run a wide receiver pass back
in like 03.
Yeah, and it got picked off. And then Belichick like broke a clipboard and said, as long as I'm the coach of this team, Tom Brady's the only guy who's ever going to throw a pass. Like, it was a rare like moment of Belichick where the staff went, okay, guys, I don't want to hear
Take
anybody
that off the playbook.
don't pitch any of these ideas. And then it was literally that year, 12 years later, whatever, Josh McDaniels kind of tiptoes up to Belichick in training camp and says, I watched Edelman fucking around and he can throw the ball. Can we put this play in? And then Belichick gives him permission, and they have it in that Kansas City Chiefs crucifixion where that started the Is Brady Done?
Week 4.
It was in the package, and they were gonna run it. And there's great video in that documentary of Amendola waving it off, because they must have been in a zone, because then the misdirection won't work. And so actually Brady throws a touchdown on the play anyway, I believe to Brandon LaFell. But so the play is still available. No one's seen it. Now, this game is the ultimate Belichick game in terms of
the Ravens were better.
Destroying the psyche of the other coach. It would have been more fun if it was Jim Harbaugh, obviously, but John Harbaugh breaks in this game when Belichick goes to the unbalanced line. Vereen as an ineligible receiver, tackles lined up in the slot. Like, it's just this crazy Picasso painting. Like, there's no like. And Harbaugh's just running on the field, screaming, getting a 15-yard penalty during it, which was very helpful. Helped us overcome the second of the two 14-point deficits. You know,
the big obstacles in this game were the Ravens, for whatever reason, our nemesis during this run, just were like, oh, we're playing in Foxborough. It's like a home game for us. Flacco turned into a combination of like 1969 Joe Namath, Peyton Manning in 2000. Like, he was just always good against the Pats. And you know, this Pats team it wasn't that great of a Pats team.
Terrell Suggs is going to love this podcast, by the way.
This Pats team fell behind 14 in round 2 and 10 in the Super Bowl in the fourth quarter. I mean, it wasn't a dominant team. But one thing that I wanted to mention from this game that I love, I remember writing about and is online, and it's great. I don't remember when it started, but the Pats would sing that Your Love song by the outfield, the fans, at these key moments of the game. And it became a thing. And in this game, there's a 4th and 3.
4th and 3.
Ravens for the season. Timeout. And the entire stadium is rocking Your Love by the outfield. It's on YouTube.
It's incredible.
And, it's awesome. And they're doing the whole song, and then it leads right up to the 4th and 3 and incomplete. Game over.
There's another great moment, because McDaniels knows, like, it's a kitchen sink game. We're probably going to throw everything we have at this team.
I don't think they thought they were better.
And so he goes up to Edelman and says, hey, do I have to give you a heads up for the double pass? Like,
do you need time to mentally prepare for it? Yeah.
Like, and Edelman just has a classic, like, I'm Julian fucking Edelman. What do you think? I'm like, just call the play, coach. Yeah. Like, he's like, no, I don't need a heads up. I know the play. We practiced it. Like, he's so prepared. And so just, he just throws it out there. And then it was a perfect play. I mean, everybody's like doing their job. Amendola.
Edelman's like, I'm on 14 painkillers right now. I've been concussed 5 times. I don't even know
your name.
Just
Who
wait.
are you? Stop talking to me.
Do the throwing motion at me. What a game. My second favorite home game.
And one of 2 games on this list where I watched the first half and second half at different locations.
To mix it up.
The first half was at our fantasy football banquet at Shakey's, and then I escaped and had to get into an isolated zone of silence for the second half comeback.
Top 5, number 5, Super Bowl 38, Pats 32, Panthers 29, February 2004. A horrible game for 28 minutes, and then became like one of the most exciting football games of all time, and now is just remembered as the Janet Jackson nipple game. And nobody this game's never discussed.
This is such an insane football game that, like,
it's insane.
It's so insane. And Rodney, but our entire secondary ends the game in slings. Like we wouldn't have been able to play in overtime. We had everyone got hurt. Like Harrison got hurt. I think Eugene Wilson got hurt. Harrison's arm's broken. He's celebrating in a sling.
I went to this game and I'm like, I remember there was one guy out there on D-back and I was like, I'm top percentile at Pats fans. I don't know who number whatever it is. I don't know who that guy is guarding Hussein Muhammad.
But so this is a game. Like the great thing about being Patriot fans is we all have 10 indefensible Brady throws at the tip of our tongue. Like we're like
this. I think is the number one worst throw of his career.
Throw like they're up 21-16 and driving
with like 7 minutes
and
left.
It's like they're obviously touchdown kind of puts it away. Field goal makes it 8, and sadly he did it again in another game that we're about to get to. If you're in the red zone and none of your first reads are open, you either need to whip that ball through the goalposts or throw it hard somewhere. There are no floaters. You can't throw a floater in the end zone.
Tate, how do you feel about this Tom Brady complaining part of the podcast?
Come on, Brady. Come on, 12. Get your shit together, 12.
I think Brady has said this is the worst throw of his career.
Oh my God. It is a floater to Reggie Howard.
Could have cost us the Super Bowl.
Then I don't know if it was the first play or the second play, the Musa Muhammad 85-yard touchdown. Yeah. And suddenly we're losing.
We were just about to go up by 12. We're losing.
That was actually more traumatic to me than seeing a woman's nipple. See, I'd recovered.
We didn't know at the game. We didn't have Twitter at that point. We barely had texting. We didn't know like this whole calamity had happened with her nipple. We were just like, hey, is this game going to get better?
We didn't know that television would be changed, that you'd have to sign a release to do any interview. Right. But a couple crazy things happened in that game. Vinatieri misses 2 short field goals. One's blocked, but he shanks like a 31-yarder. Yeah. So the winner was by no means a given. Arguably terrible offensive pass interference call on the winning drive on Troy Brown to make it 1st and 20. And you think, how many 1st and 20s do you convert? Like that game's looking like overtime, and we have no secondary.
You got to mention the John Casey kick.
And then, so the reason they start the drive at the 40 is the John Casey shank.
29-29, Panthers tie it.
John Casey shanks the kickoff.
That week at the Super Bowl week in Houston, Cousin Sal did a bit with John Casey, and he pretended to be John Casey. And these foreign journalists were interviewing him. John Casey got mad, shut it down. It was the curse of Cousin Sal.
Curse of Cousin Sal.
Do you know that story?
It worked. Yeah.
Casey kicks the ball out of bounds. Suddenly we have it at the 40. It wasn't like we had good kick returners either. We would have been at the start at the 18. Brady brings him down. Vinatieri read through the uprights, and we have now won.
3, Deion Branch for 17 yards.
I'm pretty sure at this point nobody had won the Super Bowl with at the buzzer basically. And then the Pats did it twice in 3 years, right? Vinatieri was the first one. By the way, they gave us an extra 2 seconds because the ball's through and the Rams game.
I don't know. Tate will check this, but was Jim O'Brien Super Bowl 5 at the buzzer? We'll find out in a second.
Maybe. All right. Anyway, that was number 4. That was number 5. Number 4, January 2002. Pats 16, Raiders 13. A lot of the country, for some reason, I don't understand why, calls it the Tuck Rule game. I always called it the snow game. One of my big regrets in life as a sports fan is I had tickets to this game with my friend Sully, and the snow was so bad that we decided not to go and watched it at home with my fiance and my dad at my dad's house. And it was a game the Patriots have lost my entire life leading to that point, and somehow they won it, and it was crazy.
And Brady was incredible in this game. Brady, was incredible numbers. Incredible.
Like 280 yards in the second half in OT. He's throwing to Jermaine Wiggins, David Patton, Kevin Falk.
By the way, on the play, on the fumble, incomplete pass, Tuck Rule, whatever, Charles Woodson does hit Brady in the helmet. Like he slaps him in the head. Like it's like that would definitely get called today. It's like so obvious. Like he hits him in the head, and like that's never mentioned.
I will say, all right,
but that kick. Like, again, not physically possible. Yeah.
The first kick, which is on, there's a great YouTube clip of it. Somebody took in the stands. It's a blizzard. There's no footing at all. He kicks it. It doesn't get higher than 3 feet, even though it's going over guys who are 6 feet. Somehow it almost like navigates through helmets and arms. And I don't know how he made it. I still can't believe he made it 15, 16 years later.
No, I mean, it literally would be like, it was like holing out a 230-yard 3-iron. Like it was like, it was like there was no physical way. Like he had to calculate, if it goes above this trajectory at any point, it'll be short. Like it has to be as low, it has to just skim over. So it'll be our second Sully Sullenberger reference.
Right.
Like it has the physics of it were so impossible. It has to be done exactly this way for it to reach, basically.
Two other factors in play here. Last game ever for Foxborough Stadium. Again, it's a blizzard. We are coming off a 16-year run, starting with Len Bias overdosing on cocaine in the summer of '86. Where just one terrible thing after another happening in Boston sports. By the late 90s, people are calling Boston loser town. Bird's back goes out. Cam Neely's knee. The '86 World Series. Like it just goes on. And the self-loathing and the lack of belief in our teams was at the all-time low. And then this tuck roll thing happens, which I don't feel bad about it because we remember Sugar Bear Hamilton in 76.
You feel bad. You don't look like you feel bad. Yeah.
And here's why.
Rough in the pass.
The rough in the pass is Sugar Bear Hamilton, 3rd and 17 in Oakland, 1976. We're about to win. Incomplete. And they call this bogus pass interference. It leads to the Raiders beating
Rough in the passer.
the first Patriots team that I truly loved.
Legitimate Patriots
and
team.
this was God saying, you know what? I still feel bad about that call. I'm going to do this bogus.
Spin the universe on its axis.
I don't feel good about the way I never liked the rule, and I think they got rid of it. Woodson clearly, that it was a fumble.
Well, no one ever took advantage. My
it.
loophole that no one ever took advantage of was nobody ever brought it up. Once you brought it up, until you tucked it, it would, if you fumbled, it was considered a forward pass.
Yep.
So no one ever just ran around with it. Like, I'm passing. I am passing, technically passing.
Right.
If I fumble, it's an incomplete pass.
Brady was awesome in this game. This is a great rewatch. It's one of the best snow playoff games just in general, and then has this crazy ending. And we should mention, because the Raider fans complain about this all the time, they had a 2nd and 2. This 2nd and 2, 2 more yards, the game's over. They had the ball, they had the lead in regulation. Charlie Garner runs for 8. They gave it to him 2 more times. He gets stuffed both times. 2 yards, the game's over. They didn't close it. That was another fortuitous break.
But
for the Pats.
in a few short years after this game, Jamarcus Russell will be there to save the franchise and change Raiders history forever.
The Pats fans are throwing snowballs and glee at each other. I mean, it was just the best home game in the history of the franchise, and the day that it was the Robert Steele of Pats games, basically. All right, top 3. So I can't believe this is number 3. Super Bowl 49, Pats 28, Seahawks 24. Deflategate's going on. We feel like the 2007 Giants have flipped the script that the Patriots can't win another one. It's now been 11 years since the last one. The helmet catch is reenacted by Jermaine Kearse. The helmet catch is reenacted. Malcolm Butler makes an incredible tackle on it
after
to save
covering
the game.
play perfectly.
Somehow he's the only one who realizes Kearse is still alive, knocks him out of bounds, and it all happened so fast. And we're watching going, oh my God, the helmet catch just happened. And the announcers are talking about it. They're frantically finding the helmet catch footage. Somehow Dante Hightower stops Marshawn Lynch with like one hand,
the greatest,
from behind him.
The most underrated tackle of all time.
He's running into the end zone.
Physically impossible.
They stop him
to keep the beast out of the end zone.
We're watching. We're not together, but I'm sure both of us are screaming, "Call timeout! Call timeout! Why aren't we calling timeout? Call timeout!
What's happening?
Please call timeout!" Does Belichick know we have timeouts left?
Oh man!
And then all of a sudden, Malcolm Butler is picking off a high-speed pass from like 4 yards away. I don't know how he caught it. And he's dropped 40 interceptions since.
And he's, we've joked in subsequent years about like he's literally the only catch of his career. Like he can't catch the ball, and he gets hit pretty hard by Lockett.
It was a terrible play. It was a terrible pass. I'm so glad they passed. I can't believe we won that game.
No, I mean, you could, even knowing the result, you could give yourself a nightmare right now thinking about Russell Wilson rolling out. what would you do? Like, there's no way they don't score if he rolls right.
He at least throws it out of bounds.
He's so fast.
Yeah.
Like, he would just do the Vince Young against USC. Like, he'd be like, either that guy's open or I'm going to run to the pylon. That they came up with a play that we might actually be able to defend. And Brandon Browner jamming the line, like just jamming.
Brandon Browner somehow not getting a pass interference in this game, which is one of the biggest upsets in Pat's history.
Just jamming.
I remember the end of the first half. We played great, and then they gave up this garbage fast food microwave touchdown drive to Wilson at the tail end of the first half. When we go into halftime,
Chris Matthews?
We're like, what just happened? How did we just give up 7 points? And it looked like by the end of the third quarter, it was like we're kind of
screwed. Get killed. Like, I mean, the thing about that Seattle defense was like, it was like the Seattle defense is unbeatable. They just humiliated Peyton Manning the year before.
Yeah.
And this is going to be it. Could potentially be bad. And then it's like we outplayed them. And then they got the touchdown at the end of the half. Then the wheels came off. And it's like Brady's throwing bad picks and
wasn't playing well.
And we're down double digits. And it felt like when we were down 10 in the fourth, it felt a lot more likely that we were going to lose by 20 than that we were going to win. Like, it definitely.
Brady had the 2 straight really great old school classic Brady drives.
13 for 15.
Really started with the Edelman pass where we're 99% sure Edelman got concussed. Yeah. It's like 3rd and 17, and he just gets racked, and afterwards he's crying, and it's like he clearly had a concussion, and we didn't realize that at the time.
I love that guy so much.
And then they run the same play twice, the little in-out in the end zone.
The jerk route. You're a jerk.
Incredible game. I still can't believe they won that game.
That game, I mean, and then also the way at the very end, like, Seattle lost it. Guys getting ejected. Bruce Irvin and Michael Bennett freaking out. Gronk, of course, throwing punches because he's Gronk. Chris Collinsworth going, "What are you throwing? You're going to win the Super Bowl."
Right.
Gronk's like, "I'm Gronk. What am I going to do?"
And we should, just to gloss over very quickly, this was about 2-3 weeks after Deflategate. This is Collinsworth during the game going with 9 minutes left as we're trying to win the Super Bowl. He's like, I looked in Tom's eyes. I told him, Tom, did you do this? Like, people are like, these guys are crooks. These are the worst people on the earth. And meanwhile, Deflategate
17-7 at the half against the Colts with the cheating balls, 28-0 the rest of the game with the real balls.
We're not going to talk about Deflategate. Okay. All right. Second on the list. Super Bowl 36, February 2002. Pats 20, Rams 17. The first one. I still remember Ty Law running down the side. Or was it Tabucky Jones or Ty Law?
Ty Law with the pick six.
But it was Tabucky Jones who had the pass interference?
Tabucky Jones, I mean.
Who was the guy who tackled Marshall Faulk? It was Willie tackled Marshall Faulk.
Yeah.
So Rams. First of all, we go into halftime. We're up 14-3.
And hitting, Tabucky Jones was hitting so hard. Otis Smith, like, those guys played out of their minds.
This whole week, the Rams are playing in their Super Bowl. They're 14-point favorites.
Greatest show on turf.
We have no offense. Brady's hurt. It's a mismatch. And
it's a coronation.
We throw a couple haymakers. We're up 14-3 going into halftime. U2 comes out, sings Beautiful Day. And I was like, wow, this is a moment. I'm in the end zone. And comes out. We're doing really well in the second half. Get the big pick. Ty Law running down the sidelines. We're going to win the Super Bowl. Everyone's celebrating. Oh, flag on the play. Rams score. Rams score again. Yeah. Now it's going to overtime. And it's actually, there's a moment there where it's like, why are we throwing? So I think Madden says on the telecast, like, they're making a mistake.
Right. Yeah.
This is crazy. They should be taking this to overtime. And
J.R. Redmond getting out of bounds.
Yeah. So we get the greatest spot ever on the J.R. Redmond, who gets tackled inbounds, but they stop the clock. And then Troy Brown, for some reason, the only guy who could hurt them, is wide open over the middle of the field to basically set up the field goal. Vinatieri kicked it on my end zone, and
Snow Angels.
Probably the happiest sports moment.
Lonnie Paxton.
My happiest in-person sports moment of my life.
That was, and it's so funny, like, this speaks to my disease, but I had to watch that game completely alone. Completely by myself.
We had a terrible history.
At a friend's house who was going to a Super Bowl party. He's like, you can just watch. My house will be empty. You can watch. And that was the greatest sporting event of my life. up until that point. Like that was the scope of the upset, the way it ended. And I mean, the history of Patriot losses and ways we had lost. And it was just I was like, even thinking back, like I was like in a daze. I couldn't believe that we had won the Super Bowl.
We were the black sheep. The Pats were the black sheep of the Boston, but also like the way people regard the Browns now, that was kind of the Patriots in the 80s and 90s. The team almost moved twice.
Rod Russ, Dick
We had
McPherson,
cocaine scandals. The best player in the history was the left guard.
And it's like, I mean, it's funny because I loved
not a fun
football,
franchise to root for.
I loved football so much. Like, so it's like, of course, like when you look at your 4 teams, like Bird makes you love basketball. Like your love of individual sports is kind of based on like, do you have a chance to win? Are you
Bobby
good?
Orr kids.
Is there somebody you can root for?
Yeah.
And it's like the Patriots were like, God, I love football so much. If we were ever good at this sport, it would be so awesome. And
I remember when I discovered gambling and fantasy football, gambling 89 when we were 1-15, fantasy football the following year, I think. And it was like, wow, this is great. I love football. I'm so glad I have a way to enjoy that love that doesn't involve watching the Patriots lose in Miami twice and go 3-13. Amazing.
And there'd be no way to top that. No way.
Or so we thought. I can't believe that's number 2.
Oh my God.
But number 1, Pats 34, Falcons 28, February 2017, the 5th Super Bowl. Brady's vindication, the greatest football comeback of all time, 28-3. I watched the game. I've watched it a couple times this year.
I've watched it more
There's
than I
probably
care to admit.
17 plays that if the play goes the other way, we lose the game. It's almost like watching somebody win 17 straight blackjack hands and just keep pushing the chips into the middle. And
no, it's like
the Julio Jones catch is still the greatest. I think the greatest in-game clutch catch I've ever seen in my life.
And Eric Rowe, who I just been screaming about all year, he just never did anything right in my mind. Played it perfectly. Just played it perfectly. Like, okay, there's no physical way for a human being to make this catch.
And you
He's
talk about
covered.
Right. And he still made it. And you talked about how much luck we had with the other teams during this 16-year run.
And then that right after that catch is yet another coach on the Belichick outcoached list. Dan Quinn. Is that his name? And it's funny because, so much has been made of the 2nd and 11. So you lose a yard on first down, and then it's like, okay, 2nd and 11. And then for some reason, Kyle Shanahan just gets the brunt of it. Like the offensive coordinator they just decide someone's going to get crushed. And it's like, okay, the play, now I always make the case, the plays go through the head coach's headset. Like Pete Carroll could go, Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Hand it off. That he's the head coach. The coordinator can't go, no, we are going to go for it on 4th. Like ultimately it lies with the head coach. So while his offensive coordinator was getting crushed for the 2nd and 11 call, it might have been nice if the head coach had taken a little heat off of him. But so I say there's shared negligence among 4 people.
Matt Ryan.
Obviously, you can't take a sack. Like, does that not have to be said? Like,
well, not just the sack part, but I watched that game and he gave us an extra minute just by not hiking the ball with 2 seconds left. He hiked the ball a couple of times with like 17 seconds on the clock.
He locks on that 2nd and 11. Like he locks on to his guy. He's not going through his progressions. Like the moment maybe gets a little too big for Matty Ice.
I think it got a little too big.
So
understandable.
So it's like, okay, the coordinator called the play. The head coach said, okay, that's cool. We've been aggressive all year. Fine. I'm not going to choose now. And I get it. Choose, this is what we do. Quarterback obviously can't take a sack. And the center who was playing on a bum ankle, he just gets whipped on the play. Like he just gets whipped. Like he did not.
Bum ankle is broken.
Yeah. So,
is that what you're calling a bum ankle now?
What's wrong with your ankle? It's broken. All right. Well, get out there, buddy. And was it Flower? Who was it?
Alex Mack.
Alex Mack. And who gets the sack? Flowers?
It's all
one of the 47.
I need to watch it 5 more times.
47 linebackers that played great for us in the season.
Hightower made the hit on Matt Ryan, which was the Russian is cut moment of that game.
Yeah, that
was one of the previous drives
that turned it around.
Brady had. I mean, Brady. The Ravens game in 2015, the Seahawks game, in the Super Bowl, and this game were the three greatest performances of his career, all happening in his late 30s.
And the throws,
he was unbelievable.
The throws he starts
game.
making, like, they're so casual by the end. Like, he's throwing the ball, like those outs to Hogan and Amendola, like it's just precise precision. And then, I mean, in terms of the ultimate exorcism of all the demons, greatest of all time, there's nothing left for us to have a helmet catch, a curse catch. Like, we had our own version of what just happened. The Edelman catch, like, it's almost more ridiculous than the helmet catch. The amount, like and so it's just kind of, and then there's, it goes, by the way, the fact that you have to get both 2-point conversions, there's so many moments in that comeback.
Well, we got 3 in all, right?
And it's just,
were there 3 2-point conversions?
I just remember the last 2. It's a blur.
It's a
blur of James White, 14 receptions. By the way,
then you have poor Martellus Bennett, who almost catches the touchdown and gets PI'd. He would have been like the all-time hero, the overtime touchdown catch to win the Super Bowl. But so the Falcons melted down.
Well, and then there's this great moment when you see, we've all been on every sports fan has been on that side of it, where it's like, you're like, oh, we're not going to see their punter again in this game. Like, there just is there's a rolling, Brady's in a rhythm, they're going to score. There's just nothing we can do. And at the overtime coin toss, the Patriots win the toss, and Matt Ryan, it was like he almost took his jersey off. Like, it was like his body language was like, well, that's it for me. Should I just go do my post game? Like, I'm done. Like, there was no sense of like, we got this. You guys just get a stop, 3 and out, and we'll and then I'll take over. It was kind of like, oh, we lost the toss. Well, it's just a few minutes from now.
I think they were like, you watch the NFL film stuff of it, and the coach is like, keep attacking. That's who we are. And 99% of the time that works, but in this game, we really couldn't stop their run game at all. And it's amazing. I have no idea how they win this game.
Again,
I think if you played this game,
mathematically, the 99% win.
Yeah, this is if you played 1,000 times. I think the Falcons win like 997 versions of it when they up 28-3. It's impossible.
And
I will say though, I never gave up. I talked about
this is the second game on the list.
I was doing the math the whole time.
I watched it to two different locations at halftime. I had to leave the Super Bowl party I was at.
28-9. I remember I was watching with my dad and my nephew and my kids, actually, and my wife, and we changed all the seats at halftime. And then 28-9, I remember doing the math. I was like, all right, it's 19 points. That's 2 touchdowns and 2 points and a field goal. We got this.
So I sent you that this will be a good capper to this ridiculous top 25. But that somebody at WEI was like, Russell Westbrook won MVP shooting 43%.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's career, he has a higher percentage chance of going to the Super Bowl at the beginning of the season.
Right.
It's like, wow. He goes to the Super Bowl. So obviously, greatest coach of all time in any sport. I mean, John Wooden had Lou Alcindor and Bill Walton. Like, if there was a salary cap in college basketball, like what would those guys' what if salaries have been in college basketball, right? He had the best team. Like, of course he's winning championships. What Belichick has done in a hard cap league for this sustained amount of time, when everyone else is burning out, right? You hear about it every other coach.
It's a 3-year, 4-year
burnout. And this guy is just so good at his job. You never hear about burnout. And by the way, that Ravens game, number 6, I think on the list, in the Do Your Job documentary, he watched 2 games, because that's what he does when he goes home. He watches football. Yeah. He saw a Titans-Jets game where the Titans, instead of doing the normal, like, hey, we're going to lateral it 1,000,000 times, but we're going to just kind of send our first team offense out to do that, they went with like 11 skill guys. Because once you start lateraling it, no one has to be eligible or ineligible. And that's why it always ends when number 77 catches it and he can't run. He saw that and he's like, that's interesting. And then he saw an Alabama LSU game where they did the crazy unbalanced line and LSU was confused, And so he just filed it. He filed it away. And then it's like, hey, we should do that. We should put Shane Vereen's an ineligible receiver. The Ravens cover him.
Yeah.
Because how do you not cover number 34 when he's flanked out to the slot? You can't just go leave that guy alone. He's ineligible. Like the defense can't. Someone's going to get yelled at if they don't cover him. Anyway, so to me, Belichick, the greatest, not just the greatest football coach of all time, the greatest coach of all time, because he's the greatest coach at the hardest sport to coach.
You really came off the top rope and made this even more insufferable for the non-Boston fans ever. I will say, though, I'm glad this podcast exists because you and I are both very, very aware of the world we're about to enter into. Because Brady's going to retire and Belichick is going to retire, and this team will suck for the next 20 years. And we're going to look back at that and be like, wow, how the hell did we pull off 16 years?
The Patriots might be the first team to not be able to fill their coaching vacancy. When Belichick retires, everyone will just go, no, that's cool. No, thanks.
Unless they already agreed with McDaniels. But man, I mean, we know what's coming. We had 2 different runs with this team and it's a complete fluke. And I know I'm super appreciative of it. I know you are too.
I mean, I have so much gratitude for these 2 guys, but it's not a fluke. I mean, obviously a lot of nice missed field goals.
It's a fluke to have these 2 guys meet each other.
That they met each other. They both have huge chips on their shoulder.
Perfect time in their careers.
And it's like that relationship, both like psychotically competitive, both like nerds basically who like football, like watching football, like talking about football. It is.
That's why I refuse to answer the Belichick or Brady, who is more important question, because it's like you can't. Both of them were equally important, and they needed each other. And the only reason this dynasty was incredible was because
I was going to say Lennon and McCartney, but I'm sure people will get mad at that.
Why? Thanks to Miller Lite. They've been with us since the beginning. They've been fantastic partners to us.
Lennon is so much better.
We're thrilled to have them as the relaunch sponsor for theringer.com. Miller Lite, the official beer of The Ringer. Don't forget to subscribe to The Rewatchables and Ringer FC, our 2 newest podcasts. Hench, you're on Twitter, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, it's funny. I go on. I love consuming it. I just love, like free jokes from.
What's your Twitter handle?
At Kevin Hench.
Okay, there you go.
And every once in a while, I'll screw up the courage to say something. I almost weighed in aggressively on this David Price Eck thing.
I'm glad you did,
because I'm so upset. Don't mess with Dennis Eckersley.
Leave Dennis Eckersley
until you've won a playoff game. But
good idea. Good idea.
Usually, this is my process on Twitter. I go like, "Oh my god, I'm so upset about this, or I'm so pissed. I should say something." And then I'm like, Patton Oswalt said it way better. That's cool. I don't need to weigh in.
Good model. All right. Thank you for this.
Thank you,
I'm glad
brother.
we did this.
Oh my God.
I think it's the longest podcast I've ever recorded. I don't really care.
Oh, it was a delight.
The BS podcast coming back later this week. Look, we had to do this podcast. If you want to get mad about it, I don't know what to tell you. The Pats. Patriots Week on theringer.com. Check it out. Thanks, Tate Frazier. Oh, wait, Tate Frazier's dead. He's covered in gasoline and flames. Talk to you later in the week. Thanks, Edge.